Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So Prydwen just updated their tier ratings for the new units, namely Phraesto, right, Soren as well as Alsa. So in today's video, we're going to run through the tier ratings for these three units and then discuss whether or not these units are worthy of their ratings based on our personal opinions. As there's way too much units to go through in one tier list sitting, do let me know down in the comment section below whether or not you guys want me to go through the tier ratings by different categories or by the different classes or by the different game modes. Depending on whether or not people want to see it, I'll probably update a Prydwen video accordingly. But in today's video, we're going to run through the three new units. So we have the new units Alsa, right? We will talk about Alsa. We'll also be talking about Soren, and then we will also conclude this video with the likes of Phraesto, which is just updated yesterday. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the weakest unit by tier rating, unfortunately, and that is none other than Soren. So Soren's how worthy video should probably come out either later on or tomorrow, depending on how fast I can render the video. But for Soren's tier rating by Prydwen standard, okay, I don't know why they have a question mark on Alpha Bear. I think maybe nobody bothered testing Soren in the Dream Realm itself, at least for the Alpha Bear, so that's why there's a question mark. So I'm going to give my opinion of Soren in the Dream Realm. I've tested Soren with many different Dream Realm bosses. I think this unit is just not meant for Dream Realm. Unfortunately, his kit seems really, I'll say, like simple and has a lot of potential to snowball, but I think in terms of the bosses side of things, since you can't stun the boss, since you can't move the boss, a lot of his kit sort of like becomes pretty irrelevant, at least from the bossing perspective. So I think C class across the Dream Realm side of things is quite accurate. So for Soren's case, Dream Realm side, very accurate. Now when we move into the AFK stages itself, a B for pre-EX and A for post-EX. Okay, so I'll be honest, I think Soren is not even that good with the EX weapon because his ability is sort of hindered by the fact that you need to put other units that can synergize with him well enough or provide enough sustain for him to last long enough to do what he wants to do. So his EX weapon was supposed to keep his survivability up, but having tried him at Supreme Plus in different stages and different modes itself, I think this unit is just not very powerful, like at least like based on my experience using him with the EX weapon. So pre-EX side, I think he is maybe, I'll say like he's one of those units that is not super reliant on EX. So I don't know how much his EX weapon makes a difference for this unit. Like, is this unit better compared to like Arden with his EX weapon? Like there are units like Arden where the EX weapon makes a lot of difference, right? There are also units where the EX weapon doesn't matter too much, like Brutus. I don't think Brutus without the EX weapon is a big deal, right? Although the stats do matter. So the EX weapon skill in terms of Soren's case, I'll say is not something that's super spectacular based on testing. So in terms of the AFK stage, I think it's either a BB or a AA depending on how they look at it, because I haven't really tried him before EX. I think post EX, let's take a look at the different A level characters, right, in the Mauler side of things. So we go by the rating. So Rice is A level. Okay, I think it's very unfair for Rice because Rice is a unit that is super duper powerful towards the late game, by the way. And I think if let's say you group Rice in the A tier, then Soren should probably also be in the A tier because I'll say Rice is decently strong. So by grouping them together, they should be decently strong. So if that's the case, I'll say maybe for the pre-EX Soren, this unit is still worthy of an A tier as well, because this unit has the potential to just perma-stun the enemy, and if you're able to build up a team to fit his kit in terms of what he wants to do in terms of the AFK stages, I think he's decent, right? If not, this unit will be quite worthless because like this unit is not good in Dream Realm, neither is he very good for Battle Drill and PvP, which I'll talk about later. So in terms of AFK stages, I think there is a possibility for him to be decent, right? If you group him with the likes of Torrent, with the likes of Coco, Smokey, basically units that buys enough time for him to do what he wants to do, stun a few times, use the ultimate a few times, then I think he's quite an okay character there. So AA for this would be a little fair, or if not, then I think BB, right? If you kind of want to group him together, because I don't think the EX makes a huge difference for him. So that's for Soren's AFK stages. Now let's go into Battle Drill and PvP. So for Soren's description, right, it said Soren focuses on both dealing damage and crowd controlling enemy, but sadly he's super squishy and often dies before doing anything as he jumps into the fray without any means to keep himself alive. So I think this description is really accurate, and that's why I say in terms of the AFK stage side, right, it's either a AA or a BB. So AA, because if let's say you can group him with other units that can make up for his weakness, then this unit is still okay. But BB, if you see him as a standalone unit, he's not really very good. So that's why for AFK stages, it's AA or BB based on my personal opinion. For Dream Realm, no good. Like, this unit just does nothing there because his kit is just severely hindered by the fact that you cannot stun the boss, right? You cannot push the boss against the wall, so you're not proccing any of your additional buffs on him. So that's why he's not hitting hard enough, and he's not doing any form of buff or debuff. That's why he's just not good for Dream Realm. Now for Battle Drill side, I do think that Soren has the potential to be S tier, because in Battle Drill, in most cases, from the farming perspective, right, there's actually two stages. So one is the bossing side, and the other one is the farming side. So farming side in terms of clearing the dungeons. So when there's a need for you to fight multiple enemies, I think his rating is worthy of an A. I'm not sure whether or not he's that strong to be good enough for S tier, because okay, yeah, I think A is fair, because like there are certain units in the Battle Drill that you can't push against the wall, and it's very hard for him to spam his ability to push people against the wall. So I think A is fair, right? Just as a very simple AoE damage dealer. So A is okay for Battle Drill. PvP wise, I think Soren's even worse than A, because there's actually one team which he's quite okay with, the one which I introduced, which is the Satrana, Coco, Hewin team, right? So this team has the ability to keep Soren alive so that he's able to do what he wants to do, which is damage and crowd controlling enemies. But at the same time, right, like if you put any other very powerful carry in that slot, you could do a lot better. That team makes Soren work, but that team is okay, right, if you use any other unit that's not Soren. So I don't think Soren is a must there. And in any other team that I tested, I think he just does nothing and he just dies so easily, even with EX weapon, by the way. So that's why I don't think Soren's that good for PvP. Maybe a B tier would be good. So just a disclaimer before we release the How Would He video, this unit is not very good. So I'll talk more about it in that video. So next, let's move on to his sister, which is Alsa. So Alsa is a unit that I think after more people realize her potential, or after people see how weak Soren is, they sort of realize that, hey, Alsa might not be a bad unit, right? So let's take a look at Alsa's description. Alsa is a mage who combines good single target damage with the ability to control the battlefield by creating walls and stunning enemies. Very accurate. She synergizes well with other characters that can apply CC effects, and also works well in Dream Realm in full magical teams. Okay. So I think let's talk about the AFK stages first. I think Alsa is a unit which I'll say is quite polarizing, because if you're somebody who manuals your AFK stage, or at least attempts to manual, I think Alsa's a lot better, because her skill set is very reliant on her ultimate, right? But if you use the ultimate at the correct position, at the correct target, stunning the correct unit, or stunning the like units when they use their ultimate, then that's where I think her value is elevated. But if it's not manual, if it's auto mode, she actually positions herself at a very weird position, which causes her to die a lot, and that's where her viability falls a lot for a lot of people, at least for the AFK stages. And as a matter of fact, I think the reason why they put her S tier post EX is because her ultimate is so good that her EX weapon elevates the ultimate power. And then when you put her with the likes of Iron, Carolina, Arden, or any other control-centric teams, she does pretty well in those teams. So that's why her tier is elevated. For pre-EX, yeah, B tier is fair because I don't think she's that good because she's not able to spam as fast or spam as much. So EX weapon is really important on her to see her potential. So S tier for post-EX, B tier for pre-EX. But I think for the post-EX side, right, S tier is more so when you are manualing her ultimate, because if you're not manualing her in auto, she really dies pretty fast. So that's one thing about Alsa that you want to take note of. So both her and the brother, they are very frail, but for Alsa's case, at least if she gets her evasion ability going, she could survive better and she could do more based on what team you put her in. So that's for Alsa's case. Now for Dream Realm, they gave her S tier all around. I disagree with two of the bosses. So I think Alsa in the seasonal Dream Realm, very good in Alphabet, Lone Gaze, Croaker, and Skyclops because OD, Smokey, as well as Coco, the Mauler team is a thing. Give me a moment. Right, so the reason why she's S tier is because yes, she does a lot of damage by spamming her ultimate. Yes, she does a lot of damage with her combo ability where she gets more damage whenever she uses her ultimate. But at the same time, right, like, she's there because OD, Smokey, and Coco is very powerful. So if you ask me as a standalone unit, maybe not as good. But if you say put in the context of OD being meta, you running OD, Smokey, and Coco, then S tier for the different bosses is okay. But for Snow Stomper as well as Necro Dragon, it's not the case because for Necro Dragon, right, the stronger team is actually the Merrily team where you have a lot of mobility. And you guys might argue the fact that, hey, Elsa's pretty good at rolling around, right? No, she rolls around and she goes back into the same position. So she still gets debuffed by Necro Dragon, which weakens her damage potential. And if she cannot spam her ultimate, which is highly possible if she gets debuffed multiple times by Necro Dragon, then that's where she's not as efficient. That's where she's not as good. Her strength lies in her being able to spam her ultimate. So that's where I think in terms of Necro Dragon, maybe a A tier or maybe even a B tier depending on how you look at it. So if you still run like the Mauler OD com for Necro Dragon, I think she's A tier worthy. But I think if you're running like the Merrily Korean com, then like I think she's maybe like a B tier for Necro Dragon specifically. Then for Snow Stomper, like I mentioned earlier, she's reliant on her ultimate, right? You cannot get damage off the third skill, and you cannot spam your second skill, and you cannot spam your ultimate when Snow Stomper is silencing you throughout the whole battle. So I think like for Snow Stomper's case, you can still argue that, hey, I can run OD and Smokey in Snow Stomper, right? So yeah, maybe Alsa with Crescent Spell with OD, Smokey, and Coco is decent, but I think Alsa in that boss specifically is not very good. You have better choices out there. So that's why I think she's not worthy of the S tier, at least for Necro Dragon as well as Snow Stomper specifically. So that's for Alsa's rating. For Battle Drill, okay, I think for Battle Drill, she's severely underrated. Like, if you're giving, okay, first of all, right, like this is like, I don't know how to put it, okay? This unit is very good for AoE purposes, but at the same time, this unit is also decently good for bosses. So if you grade her S tier for all the different Dream Realm bosses, I think she's definitely worthy of S tier in Battle Drills because you can use her both for farming as well as bossing based on the Dream Realm bosses ranking. So that's why I think her position in Battle Drill should be a lot higher. And because in Battle Drill itself, you can group her with OD's magical team for bossing. You can group her with Iron's control team for the normal passageway clearance. So she's very versatile and I think she's quite good for Battle Drill. And I think in terms of the Battle Drill itself, for normal passageways, you can control the enemy. So that's where she'll be able to do a lot of damage, and that's where she will be able to clear the stages really fast to get you back a lot of energy. So I think Battle Drill wise, she's definitely worthy of the S tier position if you go by the rationale of the Dream Realm bosses. And then for PvP side, okay, for PvP side, arguable, right? I think she's good in Supreme Arena, not very good for normal PvP because I think in normal PvP, everybody's running a torrent. her biggest arch nemesis in normal arena is Torrent. Like, she rolls into Torrent and then she just gets wiped by Torrent's ultimate. Like, that happens to me like at least 90% of the time. I don't know what's wrong. Even after the change itself, she still dies pretty easily to Torrent. So that is what's going to happen in most cases if you are using her in normal arena, because Torrent is so common. You will get the Torrent versus Alsa matchup a lot, and it's not in her favor. So for PvP side, I think S tier is okay. Like, but the thing is, at the same time, you're sort of basing her with control teams, right? So yeah, control is meta in arena, so I guess S tier is fair, because control is really, really powerful in Supreme Arena, where you might not necessarily get the Torrent versus Alsa matchup. Then I think she's a lot stronger there, because you group her with Iron, you group her with Arden, you group her with any other control. Even Ryze goes well with her, by the way, because Ryze has a stun, and like basically any units with some stun ability, as well as the relics which give stuns, will make her quite decent. So S tier for PvP is quite fair. So generally pretty fair rating for the different game modes. Just that Dream Realm side, I think Snow Stomper and Necro Dragon, she's not very good, at least as a standalone unit. As for Battle Drill, if you go by the S tier rating for the Dream Realm side of things, I do think that she's quite good for Battle Drill, because you can also use her for bossing in Battle Drill, and you can use her for farming of passageways in Battle Drill as well. So that's for Elsa's case. So that's for the two brothers and sisters, right? I personally think Soren was such a big disappointment, and taking a look at this rating just made me feel even sadder for him, unfortunately. So hopefully he gets something that makes him a lot better in the future. And then with that, let's go into the latest unit to be added, and that is none other than Phraesto. So after I take a look at this rating itself, right, for Phraesto's case, right, this unit is still very early into the release. It's less than 1 week since its release, so I think it's not really fair to say whether or not their ratings are accurate, but I'll just base it off what I've been observing and what I've been my personal experience of using this unit so far. So for Phraesto's case, I think for AFK stages, this unit is definitely S tier, be it pre-EX or post-EX, because even at the very low tier before the EX weapon comes in, this unit is already really tanky. Like, this unit's job is just to stand on the front line, buff your ally at the back, and then link your team with his Hypogean faction, and then push through the AFK stages a lot more easily. So even at 1 copy on my $0 account, I think he's quite decent, although you need a more developed tank to sort of soak up the damage. But with the 30% damage reduction, and if you build him up to Legendary Plus with that massive defense boost, with all the latest seasonal stat boosts from all the different artifacts, his tanky ability is still there. Obviously, he will be a lot stronger after the EX weapon with the massive shield buff, but I think 30% damage reduction as well as the defense boost from Legendary Plus will make him super tanky, right? Backing him with the likes of those defensive artifacts, the likes of Smokey, Coco, Hewin, Damien, all the different healers that sort of keep his sustain going, he's quite powerful for AFK stages. So be it pre-EX or post-EX, I think he's at least a S tier. And then if you get him up the higher, the more stats you have, he will be S plus for sure. So AFK stage, pre-EX should be S, at least in my honest take. Now for Dream Realm side of things, B, let's take a look at who else is B, right? So Arrows B, okay, Reyna's definitely S plus. We go to like everyone that's B. Okay, so we go into everyone that's B and then just talk about Phraesto's positioning there. So we are grouping Iron in most bosses as B, Dano in most bosses as B, Carolina as well. Rowan's rating's a little low, maybe I'll save that for another video. Parisa's okay, Danny C, okay, right, and Tendra's C, okay. Okay, so I think if we group Phraesto to all these B tier units, I think it's fair. So I think my take about Phraesto as a unit is this unit is more than just a tank, right? This unit is also a buffer for the team. So with the energy regen as well as the damage reduction, so when you're at the lower level where survival is really important, where you need to keep your unit alive, this unit's faction as well as this unit's damage reduction from the buff itself is really helpful. So that's something that I want to point out. But if you're talking about like just sheer doing damage, I'm not sure whether or not he's the best, because he does have an energy regen speed on one of your units and his faction is still okay. But if we compare him to like maybe some of the A tier Dream Realm characters, yeah, I think he's probably okay at B tier. Yeah, because A tier we have Brutus, where you have debuff, you have buff, you have a very good faction there. So yeah, I think B tier is fine for him, for all the bosses. I don't think there's a particular boss where he stands out. B tier for Battle Drill is quite fair as well, at least based on the initial testing. Okay, so right now for Battle Drills, I think most teams, or rather most units, have no issues with surviving. So like his tankiness is not elevated by any means. Like you can survive really easily with just whatever power-ups you get from all the levels, from all the skills, from all your artifacts, as well as your unit synergies. So his like tankiness is quite useless in Battle Drill. So that's very similar to Dream Realm as well, because he's just a very tanky unit that holds the fort for your team so that you can build different teams around him. But in Dream Realm sort of things, I think he doesn't do much more damage. So in Battle Drill, where you also need to do a lot of damage, he's not very good there. So B tier across the board is quite fair. PvP wise, really very early in the testing. Like if I base it off my personal opinion, I think this unit is a beast. Like I've been destroyed by a lot of the people in my Supreme Arena runs recently by him. So I do think that he is really powerful, but that could just be because it's a whale kind of thing. Like this unit is not like a S tier across the board kind. So let's take a look at like maybe other S tier character. So Sylvina, offense, defense, okay, we're gonna go into all unit. Sylvina S, Igor S, Phraesto S, Dino S. Okay, yeah, I think if Dino is here, Phraesto is here as well, because Dino I think at the lower tier might not be as strong, but I do think that Phraesto, even if you have him at a lower tier, he's still quite usable. Yeah, like this unit, so I will just give my honest endgame rating before the how worthy video. I think this unit is at least a S+ in PvP and S+ across the AFK stages, because his faction is so good, he's so tanky, and you can actually do a few teams that might not have worked previously but would definitely work with him around, right? So I think S+ is quite apt for Phraesto, at least in arena so far, based on my personal experience, because I've just been destroyed by him. I'm also testing a few teams with him, and then if there's any meta findings or any teams which I think is really powerful, I'll definitely share it with you guys. So yeah, overall pretty fair rating across the board, except maybe the PvP side. I think he's worthy of an S+. For AFK stages, this unit is quite strong even before the EX weapon, so I'll say at least an A or an S, or maybe even an S+, depending on how you look at it. So that's for my rating, for my opinions about the 3 characters. So yeah, that's it for this video. Just a very simple run through of the 3 new units in the Song of Strife season. Bye guys.